All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. And today I've got Matt from Crypto Tax Calculator on board. Usually, taxation is not the most exciting thing for people, but it's such an important part of the crypto industry. And at the end of the day, we all need to pay tax. So, what the Crypto Tax Calculator group have built out there is an amazing piece of software. I've actually been using it myself. And today I want to talk with Matt and just open everyone's eyes to it and make sure that you've got the resources there. It's a very cost effective way of controlling your tax and making sure that you're not overpaying in areas. So, Matt, I'll hand it over to you. Tell us a little bit about Crypto Tax Calculator and yourself.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me here, Will. And as you mentioned, taxes is never a sexy topic, but at the end of the day, you do have to pay your taxes, especially if you're based in Australia. The ATO won't let you go.
Yeah,
But what
absolutely.
we've built here, we were founded in 2017 by two brothers, two cool dudes, surfer dudes. They were actually facing their own crypto tax nightmare. They had a bunch of DeFi transactions, a bunch of exchange transactions, and at the time, there was no solution that could really help them. So, being engineers themselves, they decided to make the product. Fast forward 8 years now, we've got over 500,000 users on the platform. We're partnered with all the Aussie exchanges, SwiftX, CoinSpot, Coinbase, MetaMask. And essentially, like Will said, it's a platform where you can go in, upload all your data, all your different wallets, your exchanges. We'll aggregate all your transactions into a nice tax report. And then from there, you can either file to the ATO directly or give it to your accountant. So it's a really simple way and it saves you a lot of time versus having to do it manually in spreadsheets, which is a nightmare.
Yeah, I think, take myself back to the 2017, 2015 days when I was first getting into crypto. I was doing it on spreadsheets, and you can really only go so far from there. There's so
Mm,
many little nuances with tax and things that you don't really think about, even bridging coins, how is that going to affect from a tax point of view? And you
yeah.
can't really track that on a spreadsheet. And at the end of the day, what I've learned from using your software is it just automates so much of that for you. And there's so many scenarios where it's actually better off for you than you think. So it's an amazing piece of software, as I say. I suppose like the first question that I've got that I know my audience will be interested is, when do you recommend, what's the main reason for people to use Crypto Tax Calculator, as opposed to trying to hack it on their own? And, what's the, can you rely solely on it, or do you need to use accountants as well? Talk us a little bit through that.
Yeah, cool. A couple of reasons here, but I would say it comes down to accuracy and efficiency. So, as you said, crypto taxes is really nuanced. It's very complex, and things can get messy super quickly. Even if you only have a few transactions, you might have staking rewards, airdrops. You might be transferring between different wallets and exchanges. All that stuff actually becomes really difficult to track quite quickly. And, for example, gas fees are taxable. So every transaction, it's not just the transaction that's taxable, also the fee might be taxable. And as soon as you have more than, say, 50 transactions, this is where it starts to become quite difficult. So, I've done it myself manually back in 2021. I had about 2,000 transactions and that literally, I counted how long it took me because it was outrageous. It took me 82 hours to do it in a spreadsheet.
It's crazy.
Um, and that was for someone who already had some knowledge about crypto taxes. So I can only imagine for some people that could take way longer. With CTC, we automate the majority of that process. So, you import your different exchanges, your wallets, and we apply the correct tax treatment. So, like you said, we're all bridging transactions. Lots of people might have no idea if bridging a transaction is taxable or not. With our software, you don't have to worry about that because we'll do the calculation for you. And with accountants are great. We work with some wonderful accountants out there. But if you do work with an accountant, you just want to make sure that your accountant is well trained in crypto because what
Mm.
we often see is with accountants, they might not know too much about crypto. And then the investor ends up paying the accountant just to learn about crypto taxes. And then they also have to pay them to actually go through and file their taxes. So, yeah, if you don't think you have the time to go through do your crypto taxes yourself, accountants are great. Just make sure you work with a good one there.
And spot on. And you guys align with and have trained a certain accountants out there, particularly in the Australian space. And for my users that are listening to this video, we're going to actually tell you who those accountants are. because obviously at the end of the day, the purpose of using softwares like this is to make things more accurate and to
Yeah,
save time, right? So
exactly.
if you're just simply signing up to Crypto Tax Calculator and letting your accountant, who's a standard accountant, doesn't know crypto, use the software, it's probably going to take them longer, right? But if you kind of sign up to Crypto Tax Calculator, get in the good habit of using it from the start of your crypto journey, keeping things really neat and tidy. By the time you hand that over to the accountant, they might only spend how long would you think it would take an accountant for someone who's following good practices day to day, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, if the user has done most of the work in CTC, sometimes the accountant literally just takes the tax report that you've got from CTC and files it. So they might not charge you any billing hours, but let's say you want to like work with your accountant in the platform. They might take, it really depends. They might take a couple hours. If you have a really easy data set, it might take them 20 minutes or so. So it just depends on your number of transactions and then how much of the work you've done yourself in CTC.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, I think that's a really big point that I want to hone into to my audience, and something that we've actually started putting in our onboarding documents for clients that are coming to us is get this started from the get-go so that it is neat and tidy and you're not going back through 1,000, 2,000 transactions and trying to remember, oh, what was that one? What was that one?
Yeah.
Start from the start at the end of the month or at the end of the week, depending on how many transactions you're doing. Go back and look through it, make sure that they are all correctly categorized is the term that's used on
Yeah.
the platform, and anything that it didn't understand how to automatically categorize, you can go and manually put that in. So yeah, awesome stuff. And look, a little question here. A lot of people, they prefer not to pay tax where they can, or legally. How can they pay less tax on their crypto? Is there any pointers there? Solutions that the software helps you with?
Yeah, so legally is an important word there.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but there's a few different ways. The first one I would say might be a bit of an obvious one, but people tend to forget is if you hold crypto for over a year, you'll be eligible for the 50% CGT discount. So let's just say you've, held ETH for over a year and you've made $4,000 and you decide to sell it. Because you've held it for more than 12 months, you actually only pay tax on half of that $4,000. So you're only paying tax on $2,000 gain, which is really good. So it actually does pay off to sort of be a long-term investor at times.
Yeah.
There's other things. We've got a tax loss harvesting tool in our platform. So what we do is we show you all your like crypto, your tokens and NFTs that earn big unrealized losses, and you can potentially sell those off to offset your gains, and that will reduce your taxable income. So that's good to know if you want to minimize that tax there. And then I guess with our platform as well, we also have accounting methods. So we can help you choose what the best inventory method is to figure out your cost basis.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you've got first and first out, last and first out, different ways to match your buys and your sells. But CTC can actually find the optimal inventory method that will give you the minimal tax there.
Mm.
So that's quite useful as well. And I will just say, like, if you use Excel, which I'm sure some of you have in the past, that can lead to areas where you might actually end up paying more tax than you actually owe. So I think a big part of CTC as well is at least it's accurate. Whereas, when you're plugging in numbers, number by number, if you've got thousands of transactions, you're likely to make a mistake. So by having good record keeping practices, at least you're not overpaying your taxes.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's such a good point you mentioned there. Like a lot of people, when they're first starting crypto, they really don't even understand things like a cost base and that transferring over. Maybe do you want to tap on just what a cost base is before we go any further?
Yeah, absolutely. So to give you an example, let's just say, you bought Ethereum at $1,000 on an exchange. And then, you hold that for a little bit. You might move that Ethereum over to your wallet, do some staking, whatever, maybe move it to another exchange and say you sell it for $5,000. What your cost basis is, essentially how much you bought that Ethereum for. So it's that $1,000. Even if you've transferred it between different exchanges and wallets, that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What only matters is when you actually sell. So in this example, you've sold it for $5,000. What the ATO will do is they'll say, okay, great, you received $5,000 from the sale. what was your cost basis? How much did you buy for? And that was 1,000. So your capital gain here is the 5,000 minus 1,000, which is $4,000.
Spot on. Yeah, and look, perfectly well explained. And even, for some people that are sitting there might be going, oh, geez, it sounds complicated. But just to put emphasis on it again, that's why it's so important to use something like Crypto Tax Calculator, which is actually automatically tracking all these things for you. Doing something in a spreadsheet is not going to hack it, particularly when you start getting into DeFi and things like that. And on that note, I was actually incredibly surprised as a user at how well Crypto Tax Calculator is actually following DeFi interactions, staking, yield farming, all of these things are automatically being pulled. Every single transaction is being pulled into this software, and most of them are automatically getting accounted for or categorized. And then a few of them you might have to, it flags it saying, what is this transaction? Was it a sell? Was it a stake? Whatever it is. And every now and then you've got to do a few manual categorizations. So powerful. Can't emphasize that enough. And starting at the start is your best way of going about it. Matt, I suppose just to wrap that up there, how many of your users would you say are solely using it and not using accountants, and how many users, are solely just relying on the accountants? They're just getting the software for them.
Yeah, really good question. I don't have exact figures on this, to be honest, but I would say probably the majority of users are using CTC to do all the work. Maybe they have an accountant just for filing purposes, but I would say the majority of them actually go through, import their data, do the reconciliation, that kind of stuff. And then probably a small portion would be the ones who work with accountants. And the accountants would come into the software, do the work, help them throughout the process. So we do try to make it as intuitive as possible. It's really a consumer product. If you go to the website, you can see the UI is pretty nice, if I could say myself.
Yeah.
But it's really designed to help the user be able to get through the journey themselves. But again, like if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time, or you simply, don't really want to deal with it yourself, that's where it could be really useful to have an accountant to come in and do the work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose on that note of when you first start using anything, it can be quite complicated, right? There's new terminology, there's new ways of doing it, there's taxation behind it. Am I doing the right thing? What education do you have available for users to guide them through the process? And particularly when they come to that, okay, I've got to categorize some of these transactions myself. Well, I don't know. Was it a transfer? Was it that? What's the tax implication going to have? What documentation and support do you have available for users?
Yeah, really good question. This is probably a big selling point for us because we really focus on like education, help, support. Because crypto tax is like it's not an easy topic, even for someone like myself who works in the industry. Like it can get confusing at times. But with our platform, when you get set up, we do have like an onboarding guide that navigates you through the platform. So we'll say follow the first step, which is to import all your data, make sure everything's imported. Second step, review your transactions. It's a bit of a flow, and we try to like hold your hand, so to speak, throughout the platform. We do also have a help center with lots of documentation, lots of common questions and answers. We have a very active support team. So if you go to our website, go to the bottom right corner, you'll see this chat function. Shoot us a message. Most of the time, we're able to troubleshoot your query just through text.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also request for a call, video call with one of our support staff members. All of them are trained in crypto and support. They're really knowledgeable. So if you're sending them, a transaction on the blockchain scanner and you want to know what it was, they can actually dig into that for you and sort of provide a recommendation. So that's really helpful. But yeah, we're also about to release some new videos as well, common questions and answers with support. But yeah, if you get stuck, our support team, they're there 24/7. They can help get your questions answered.
Yeah, honestly, amazing. And, when we were recently in Singapore, I was having a chat to yourself at one of the events that we were at, and I was saying to you, like, Matt, like, it just seems so cheap. Like, how are you guys making money? Like, honestly, when I jumped on, and before I even, jumped on and started putting everything in, I just thought that it would be a lot more expensive. I mean, your average accountant to probably do all of this would be charging thousands of dollars, to be able to accumulate all of the data, filter it all through, and this almost does it pretty much instantly, depending on how many categorized transactions you have to do when you enter in the data. So talk to me. What is the cost for the user at the end of the day, and do you have any special offers for the Mining Store and Imperial Wealth clients?
Absolutely. So we've got four different types of plans. The cheapest plan costs $49 a year, and then our most expensive plan is $399 a year. The
Crazy.
main difference, yeah, the main difference between the plans is your total number of transactions. So that cheapest plan that supports up to 100 transactions in total, and then the most expensive plan that supports up to 100,000 transactions. So not too many of you should fall into that. And we've got a couple plans in between. We also do have plans for enterprises and businesses, and also special pricing for those with more than 100,000 transactions. But that being said, as an Imperial Wealth member or Mining Store member, you get a lovely 20% discount on your first year with us. So, Will, I think you have the link there. I'm sure you'll share it with them in some
Yep.
sort of chat, and you can take advantage of that.
Yeah, honestly, unbelievable. Like, honestly, when I first, joined the platform myself after meeting your founder and meeting yourself in Singapore, I was looking and I was like, oh, it'd have to be 1,500. I know it's automated and it's software and that's great, but there's support on the back end when I have questions on categorizing things. There's so much documentation. It's all automated, saves you so much time. And for someone under 100 transactions, which is actually a fair few people, some people just buy a bit of Bitcoin, buy a bit of Ethereum. That's
Yeah.
it. They're not really doing altcoins. They're not doing DeFi. $49 a year, and it's all automated for you in a great format. And there's a portfolio tracker. Honestly, unbelievable stuff by you guys. So that's really nice work. And as Matt said, I'll have a link in this video for those people who want to sign up to it. I can't recommend it enough, and it's honestly a part of our onboarding process now. All clients that join our service are going to be showed how to use the crypto tax calculator. So awesome stuff, Matt. Awesome stuff to your team as well. That's mostly what I wanted to cover for my audience. I mean, have you got any hot tips? I think you sent a few things to me, maybe about gifting crypto to your partner. Anything you want to add on?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess a couple common questions we get that might be useful to audience. Yeah, if you give crypto to your partner, that is taxable. So whoever sends the gift, you will incur a capital gain or loss,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how much you bought that crypto for initially. And then your partner or whoever receives the gift, they won't be taxed until they actually sell off the crypto themselves. So that's important to know. A lot of people think gifting crypto is free,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, there are tax consequences. The other thing I'll say is maybe like airdrops. Airdrops are definitely taxable. They're considered income tax when you receive them. And then if you hold on to those airdrop tokens and sell them later on, you incur capital gains as well. So it's a bit of a double whammy there, unfortunately. But yeah, if you get an airdrop, it's income tax and then capital gains tax. So yeah, those are common questions we get. The other thing, maybe I guess tips, the extension deadline. So the deadline is at the end of this month. So if you haven't filed yet, now's a really good time to sort of get started. You've got just over 2 weeks. Sign up to the platform through the link that Will's going to share. Hopefully, it doesn't take too much time. If you get stuck with anything, reach out to our support team. But you want to start early and you want to keep tracking as you go. Because like Will said, if you fall behind and you have to go back to your taxes from 2017, like you've got 8 years of crypto taxes. Yes, software can save you a lot of time and automate a lot of that, but can be a bit of a nightmare. So if you can go in, log into the software every couple months, every quarter, just update your transactions. We make it really simple. You can just click a button and we'll pull through new transactions. But it's good to stay on top of things. So that way 31st of October comes, you already done everything and you don't need to panic there.
Spot on, yeah, and I think just the main point is get started earlier rather than later, right?
Yeah.
There's absolutely no harm in at least going with the $49 option, making sure it is something that's going to be beneficial for you. I can guarantee based on my personal experience, it's it's second to none. You're getting portfolio tracking, everything's in neat and tidy order. For me, 90%, if not more, of my transactions were all automated and categorized, and there was a few that I just had to, put in exactly what it was. So, and then anywhere that I got stuck, I just went on the chat support and pretty much figured it out there, or looked at some basic documentation. So couldn't recommend it more, and awesome job to you and your team, Matt. Yeah, really, really can't wait for our users to start using this. There's a lot of questions that we get asked, and it's going to save us a lot of headaches as well. So, look, I'll hand it over to yourself, Matt. Do you have any questions for me on Mining Store and Imperial Wealth? Anything that the crypto tax users might want to know about what we do?
Yeah, for sure. It's really interesting how you've got like Imperial Wealth and the mining store. Are those like two separate entities, or how do they work together?
Yeah, spot on. So I suppose a little bit of the backstory of myself. I started in crypto in 2015. Initially, I was a Bitcoin miner. So I was using my desktop computer to mine Bitcoin when I wasn't using it to game or do uni work or whatever it was. And so that's how I got into crypto. And it was around 2017, when everyone's hype and interest started, pointing towards crypto, Bitcoin going from 1 to 5 to 10 to $20,000. I kind of looked at the Bitcoin I mine and go, wow, it's actually worth quite a bit of money now. And so I quit my day job, and me and my best mate from school, Cal, we actually founded Mining Store. So that's where Mining Store started. And then the job that I was in at the time was foreign exchange trading. And so basically what happened was we built quite a big client base of clients that were mining Bitcoin through us, started setting up hosting facilities overseas and whatnot. And we were, with my trading background, essentially providing our mining clients with the portfolio of altcoins that we were getting into. So that obviously evolved a lot over the next 2, 3, 4 years, and that's where Imperial Wealth Crypto was formed. So today, Mining Store, as you say, is a separate company focused on Bitcoin mining. We host about $60 million worth of Bitcoin miners for our
Wow.
clients. It's grown a lot. I wouldn't have thought that would back in 10 years ago when I first started with my first GPU rig. And then Imperial Wealth Crypto really sits as our education and investment and DeFi business, where we help clients from people who have never entered to crypto before, all the way through to sophisticated clients who just don't have the time to research which projects are out there. I mentioned one to you recently, Matt, that we got on a bit of a banger with Asta.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that even myself, I don't have time to research it, but I was, lucky enough to be able to see what our analysts are doing, and they pretty much deliver it to us on a silver platter. So yeah, it's a bit about Mining Store and Imperial Wealth.
Yeah, nice. I really like how you started with mining store, and then sort of you just gave your personal, I guess, personal investment tips to that audience, and then you could sort of create a whole company out of that. That's really impressive.
Spot on, exactly. There's so many people out there that just they don't have that support and guidance, and yeah, I suppose that's the exact gap that we're looking to close in Australia. Is
Mm.
helping people get safely and securely set up as a priority, educate them before they put any money into the market, and then of course once they are in the market, it does become a bit overwhelming, and there's so much opportunities. A lot of people, they don't have a strategy in place, and that's basically what we're helping with. Giving them proper analytics, proper strategy, and real alpha.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what the space needs. Like you've got too many people who just maybe they go on crypto Twitter, they see a couple influencers shilling a random coin, they get into it, lose money, and then they might shy away from crypto just because of that negative experience. So I really like what you're doing with Imperial Wealth. I also remember when you screen shared and you sort of showed me the platform. Can you talk to me a bit about that? Because you had like different options for, some people just want to know, I guess, what you're buying, entries, exits. Some people actually want to go through, read all the docs. How does that work?
Yeah, spot on. So, like as I said, there's a different client that comes to us. Some people are brand new to crypto. They've never set up exchanges. They've never set up wallets. And then we really cater all the way through to getting people to that advanced level where ideally they're not actually spending too much time on their crypto portfolio, but they've got such good information and alerts of what's going on with the market that they can execute on it quite easily without, making it their full-time job. So when I showed you our our platform. There's so much on there, from educational courses. We have free courses available, which simply just show you how to set up exchanges, wallets, buy your first Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin and Ethereum, sign up to things like Crypto Tax Calculator from the beginning. So that's kind of our free content, is just getting you ready and understanding crypto and blockchain and things like that. And then we have more advanced content, which can teach you leverage trading. It can teach you DeFi, yield farming. Our main service that we offer, which most clients get into, is our Crypto Academy. Okay, and that's where I was showing you get access to our entire portfolio. Okay, so you're actually seeing exactly how much we've got in Bitcoin, Ethereum. I mentioned a great tip we got recently, which did 400% in 4 days. Asta, we literally bought that on the day that it came out, and we did the same thing with Hyperliquid. The day that it came out, got in at $7. It's now trading at $40 to $50. So you simply just can't do all this research on your own. And that's really the gap that we're closing, mostly for Australians and globally, though, is providing the education, the tips and analytics, the mentorship community and support, so people can navigate the crypto market without making it their full-time job.
Love it, love it. And with the mining store, do you have some customers who are both mining store clients and Imperial Wealth?
Yeah, absolutely. So really don't really mind where people start. Some people find us through Mining Store because they're searching on Google, buy a Bitcoin miner, or is Bitcoin mining profitable in Australia? And often people will find our website, and then we do booked-in consultations with everyone that starts with us. So some will start with us on the mining side, and then they'll come across to the Imperial Wealth Crypto and start doing trading, investing, DeFi, all of the above. Others will find us on the Imperial Wealth side, and they'll just be interested in buying Bitcoin or setting up a diversified altcoin portfolio. And then once they've made a bit of money in the crypto industry, they kind of clue on, oh, wow, what's this mining thing? I can actually be passively earning Bitcoin every single day and not even have to worry about it. I could be traveling around the world with no internet, no reception, and in the background, my miners are accumulating Bitcoin for me the entire time. So, that's basically why we have both angles. There's times and certain clients that are better suited to start on the mining. There's clients that are better suited to start on the Imperial Wealth trading and education side. But ultimately, we call it the holistic strategy, and that's when you're actually doing a bit of everything that we offer. But it takes time, and it's a progressive journey. You don't just get everything at once, and it's overwhelming. We really assess, okay, where are you up to? What are you trying to achieve? How much capital do you have available right now? And what's your risk profile? And based on that, you can choose where you start on our services.
Yeah, nice. I really like that you guys aren't preaching like a get rich quick sort of thing, because so many people in crypto go, make a 10x instantly. You guys actually do case by case. You're looking at the risk profile, their portfolio, you're actually taking the time, and it's a gradual thing. Like you said, like the goal is to have your money working while you sleep. So I think that's really exciting with what you do. And then with Imperial Wealth, I guess if clients do want to sign up, is it a subscription model or how does that work?
Yeah, so our base service is our Crypto Academy. It's an annual subscription. It's not very expensive. There's a lot of services out there that, because there's such good money to be made in crypto, they're charging $15,000, $20,000, $30,000. It's just not affordable for your average Australian punter, so to speak. So, our service is not expensive like that. We have services starting as low as $1,000. We have more catered services with coaching and mentorship, which can get a little bit more expensive. But honestly, you can really get set up with exchanges, wallets, get access to our entire portfolio, all of our analysis for as little as $1,000. So honestly, it's the best place in my opinion. Of course, I'm going to be biased, but it's the best place for someone to start in crypto. And even for that more advanced investor, getting alpha of projects that just released, they can be sometimes the projects that run the best. Something like Asta, as I said, we were able to get into that project, sell out our initial investment with a matter of a couple of days, and now we're just letting the rest ride and taking profits as it grows. So yeah, you really can't put a dollar value on that. And for starting as low as $1,000, it's the best place, as I say, for a beginner and even for an advanced investor. You could be having a big opportunity cost by not getting some of those recommendations, analytics, and tips.
Absolutely. That's crazy. $1,000. I mean, even if you started with a 10K portfolio, you got into that asset trade, like you've got lifetime membership with the profits you've made from that. So definitely see the value. And you got to invest in yourself as well. Like you said, I probably consider myself somewhat like advanced, been in the space for a little while, but like I'm not picking opportunities like you guys are. So it's always helpful to have that extra set of eyes.
Yeah, spot on. And like even a lot of people ask me, if you're making so much money investing, then why are you running the service? And at the end of the day, what people don't realize is I'm using the service that my company has built.
Yeah.
The more I can grow that company, the more analysts I can get on board, the more support staff, the more research, the more that is done for me. And I can use it myself to invest. I obviously invest in all of the tips that our company puts out as well. So yeah, it's an absolute win-win, and yeah, I love what we do and love helping the Australian people, and yeah, really looking forward to potentially meeting some of the crypto tax calculator clients, and of course my clients. Yeah, they're very excited to have this solution solved, which is a bit of a headache for them. Of how can I make taxation easier, and how can I potentially save some money in a legal way, by doing things properly.
How good. Yeah, I think both our companies hopefully were adding a lot of value to the crypto space. And yeah, that's probably it for me. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say to our audience or your audience.
No, I think that's it. And I just want to really highlight that when I said this to you, Matt, when we were in Singapore, that what you just said there, our companies really do align. We're really trying to help the Australian space as much as possible. And unfortunately, there can be some bad actors in the space and people that are promoting get rich quick
Yeah.
solutions. We're so honest, brutally honest with our clients when we tell them, it is actually a little bit of work at the
Mm,
beginning when you join a service like ours. There's some things to read, some education to get through, similar to when you start on crypto tax calculator. It's a little bit of work getting to understand it and doing things properly, but the benefit of that in the long run, or the opportunity cost of not doing that, is so big. So yeah,
sure.
I love what you guys are doing, love everyone that I met at your company so far. I really can't wait to do more content, educational content with you guys. And yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of the Imperial Wealth and Mining Store clients come across. So thanks so much for jumping on today, Matt. Really looking forward to it, and we'll touch base with you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Will. Appreciate it.
Take care, legend.
Bye.
Nice, that was perfect.